Former Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates footballer Marc Batchelor has been laid to rest. His funeral took place at the Crossing Church in Midrand here in Johannesburg. Batchelor was gunned down last week outside his Olivedale home in northern Johannesburg. Now, ESE's Ronald Maslinda attended the funeral and joins us now live in the studio to give us an update. Ronald, Marc Batchelor's family members, not mincing their words, admitting during today's funeral that Marc was a man who lived one could call a double life.
Indeed, Marcel. Well, of course, the man that we knew for so many years, this great football icon who, despite not having played for South Africa on the international stage, he was still seen as a man revered by many for not only for his exploits on the football field, but for also being a white footballer who broke barriers by playing for so many of South Africa's top clubs and also going to the township and being a role model for so many young South Africans. But the stuff that were uncovered in recent days and weeks about Marc Batchelor, clearly illustrated by one of his friends who spoke today at his funeral, saying that, you know, not all was well in Marc Batchelor's life, saying, Marcel, that it was actually back in 2007 when things started to go wrong for him, and it was financial issues that went wrong for him when he lost his contract with sports broadcaster SuperSport following an alleged brawl at a restaurant. But let's take a listen to what that family member had to say.
Friends didn't know this guy. The truth of the matter was, Marc made a lot of bad choices with the company he kept to the business dealings he made. And this caused him to lose contact with many of the people who cared about him the most.
Now, from that to the football fraternity, you would know him very well. I mean, you don't get to play for two of the giant football clubs on the continent without being well known. What did the football fraternity have to say?
The two people that really spoke from the football fraternity was Edward Mutale, of course, famous for that class of 95 when Orlando Pirates won the Africa with the Champions League on the African continent, and Marc Batchelor was among those players. And just speaking about him as a player who introduced him to the finer things in life that he wasn't exposed to coming from the township. And of course, Mark Williams, a lot to say about Marc Batchelor, being this guy who was a very colourful character, but also a guy who loved doing things that a lot of people like him as a Cape Coloured like to do. So let's take a listen to what Mark Williams had to say about Marc Batchelor.
About a month ago, actually, me and Batch, we met at Four Ways, and he says to me, Williams, when are we going for a coffee? Now, Bess always invited me for a coffee, and I said, listen here. Now, Sean Bartlett is sitting there. You know, they used to go to the gym. Now, in Cape Town, we have two different type of colours, the English one, Afrikaans. And I said to him, Bess, if you want to have a coffee, you have a coffee with Batchelor. For me, we go for a drink. But what a kind heart, a lovely person.
Typical Mark Williams, if you do know him well, as many of us do. A lighter moment at that funeral. Now, Marc Batchelor, Ronald, died in what can only be described as a hail of bullets. What is the latest with regards to that case?
Well, having spoken to the South African Police Service earlier this morning with their spokesperson, he basically said that no arrests have been made, and it's things starting to really unravel with this case, because last week there was an arrest made about an investigative officer that was at the scene, allegedly having taken Marc Batchelor's phone and deleting some of the important information regarding Marc Batchelor, and that could be possibly important for this case. So that man has since been released, and no confirmation yet as to where this case is heading.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for that update. Ronald Maslinda with the very latest following the laying to rest of Marc Batchelor earlier today.